Today, I am answering a very common question that is asked in any of the hypnotherapy world. And so this is Fritz, my client, says, I don't know, in the investigatory phase, what do I do with this? And so today I'm going to talk about why this happens, what not to do, and what not to ask, and specifically a very common NLP type question that I don't recommend you asking your clients at all, and a quick tip. So let's get straight to it. One of the reasons and biggest reasons why a client will say, I don't know, is because they consciously don't know, right? Which means that what the question that was asked was something that elicited conscious information. They consciously don't know yet. It is our job to help them know that, right? And so the approach that I like to use and what I tell my students that is very helpful is that just see that as feedback, right? And that's it. Sometimes we can get very panicky when they say, I don't know, and we want to force things, we want to brush, and we want them to know right away. No, and that is one thing to not do, right? And so, as I said, just look at it as feedback that the question wasn't the best for that moment in time. So that is one of the things. And another reason is that maybe the client just didn't understand your question. So it would be good to repeat it with more intention and slowly. And one of the reasons is that the client most likely doesn't have enough data that to have them know what actually is going on. So inside our hypnotic questioning sessions, the main goal of the session is investigation, right? And so if you ask a question, a client says, I don't know, they simply do not have elements of the backpack, enough elements out of that backpack yet to formulate an answer, which again is fine. It is feedback that you need to keep on going. And this is what not to ask. It is very common if you train in the NLP field for them to recommend you to ask this question, which is, well, what if you did know? What if you did know? Right? Client says, I don't know. And you say, well, what if you did know? This is why I don't recommend that. If, like, I just asked you that question, right? If, for example, you are someone who's been battling with crippling anxiety that you can't even get out of your house, you're so scared of it. And a hypnotherapist asks you, okay, why are you so scared to go outside? And you say, I don't know. Like, that's the reason why came to you for, right? And then you get asked a question, well, what if you did know? It's like to some clients, and especially if I was to be your client, I'm a bit of a smartass and I'm a very, very stubborn person. I'd be like, the fuck did I hire you for? You're supposed to help me, right? It might give you that a client might give you that resistance, right? And also, even if a client didn't resist, even if a client did think about it and gave you an answer to the best of their abilities, it's a guess, right? It is a superficial level layer that you are going to force them to have. Meanwhile, what would be more beneficial for them is to explore the problem. So again, this is just feedback. This is nothing to be scared of. When I hear I don't know, I just really ignore that I don't know part and just keep asking my questions. So I'm going to give you an example. Say it's the same social anxiety client, right? Wanting to go outside but couldn't. And so and you ask them a question, maybe because you were taught that everything has to be feeling, you want to explore the feelings because it's an unconscious process. You're really looking for that big breakthrough feeling, which again is going to be a problem. But say you were in that route, we all can get fixity. And you go into that part and you you're asking your clients about feeling, right? What do they feel about it? Blah, 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 blah. And a client keeps saying, I don't know. Maybe they're just not in touch with their emotions, or they can't properly express it. And they keep on saying, I don't know. If you keep having that roadblock, pause. And instead of trying to force your direction towards getting your clients to feel, which is a problem in and of itself, which is a different video for another day. But if you're hitting that roadblock and your questions are about getting your clients to feel, that is feedback for you that is not the direction that a client needs to go in. So instead, move that around, and instead of forcing your clients to get in touch with the feelings, how about ask a different type of question? Maybe go through the thought process, right? Okay, so what thoughts do you think about whenever you go outside? And that will open your clients up more to maybe that is the language that they want to speak. Maybe it is the thought process that they need to work on at that moment in time, and that way you're not hitting the same roadblock. You're shifting the direction a little bit to a different direction that they are going to benefit from more. And this is why inside our hypnotic questioning program and the method itself, we're really all about listening to our clients. That is the number one principle that is taught in the intro course and the free flowing hypnosis sessions course. This is how we completely eliminate ourselves from hypnosis scripts and the 100 best magical questions that therapists need to have, because really those things are limiting and they don't always work with a client in front of you. So instead of memorizing all that shit or reading all that shit or memorizing any of the metaphors or the rapid inductions or any of that shit, instead we focus our attention on the client in front of us. Why? Because that is how we know which direction to go in. And that is exactly how we prevent a lot of these I don't know answers. And even if we go through the I don't know answers, we'll know what direction to ask because we are paying attention to the client in front of us. Are you paying attention to your client? And I know that you'll probably be like, of course I am, Fritz. I'm a great listener. I thought so too myself until I actually got into a principle-based process like hypnotic questioning. And what I found was that I was barely listening because I was too focused on what questions I need to ask. So is that happening to you too? No shame in that. This was how we were trained, right? But it is our responsibility to make things better for our clients and give them more value in our sessions. And this is one of the first steps, is really just to look at it as feedback. And if you're hitting the same wall and think about the questions you've asked, is it more about emotions? Are you drilling too much on the emotions when a client does not speak that language, or it's not what they need at that present moment in time in front of you? Go a different direction, maybe thought-based, maybe different. Maybe your client has given you metaphors all throughout and you're hitting them with emotions. If your clients have given you spontaneous metaphors, if your client says, whenever I think of going outside, I feel like I'm trying to get away from a cage, blah, 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 blah. That means that client is more metaphorical in nature. And so therefore your questions need to be addressing or be asking about the metaphors. That just makes sense, right? And so let me know how that goes for you. Let me know how this helped. This is part 1 out of the 2. So stay tuned for part 2 and I will see you later.